When you think of Noche Buena, hamon is always there. It's the centerpiece of the Filipino Christmas table. It's sweet, slightly tangy, and delicious. But when did we start loving it, and how did it evolve to the Christmas staple that it is today?
1930s, my lolo started the business.
More than 100 years na ganong recipe yun.
We got the goods!
We're here to investigate, interrogate,
The ham monster's chasing us!
and most importantly, to kim our way through the mysteries of Filipino cuisine. This is Patikim. When you hear this song, that means it's Christmas. And in the Philippines, Mariah Carey becomes part of our family from September onwards. Yes, that early. Malls, I'm clearly in the Christmas spirit. Businesses, houses, we all start decorating way too early. And while it might seem very commercial, in the Philippines, it's still primarily a Catholic religion to celebrate the birth of JC. But it's also a time that we all love because not just of the gift giving, but nothing in the Philippines happens without food. We are a food obsessed nation, and no feast is more important than the lovely Noche Buena. Food in the Philippines usually tells a tale of survival. Like many things back in the day, it was all about extending whatever you'd be able to harvest in that particular season to carry you on through the more difficult seasons, in our case, which is the rainy season, where it's very hard to go out and catch things or harvest things. We sun-dried things like fish, baboy damo, which explains why we have things like atag in the Cordilleras. The tradition of Noche Buena goes back to 1537 when Pope Paul III allowed people in the West and East Indies to skip strict fasting on Christmas Eve and enjoy a proper meal. Something still seen in Mexico, Peru, Cuba, Haiti, and the Philippines. In early colonial times, Jesuit priests in the Philippines prepared a good and abundant spread for local leaders, always with sweets to show that Christmas was a time of joy for the elite. Ancient peoples were already making ham by the 6th or 5th century BC, and the Chinese may have been curing pork legs even earlier. The word we use, hamon, comes from Spanish jamón, which traces back to French jambe and Latin camba, all linked to the leg. Spaniards once called it pernil before jamón took over in the 17th and 18th centuries, and ham arrived later through American influence. Even though cured meat keeps better in cold climates than in our humid tropics, ham became a Filipino favorite. In the cookbooks that we do have, ham is usually in chapters under conservas, which means conserving or preserving. And we found this one particular recipe in Antique that's been living and still being made today, 100 years later.
Yung Hamon de Pandan is the way to preserve a pork. So, may kwento dyan, si mother-in-law, tinuruan siya ng uncle niya, isa siyang contractor ng mga sakada before. They are the sugarcane farmers, harvester. Pupunta sila ng Negros, Tarlac, nagbabaon sila ng mga preserved fish and meat. Yung baboy, ginagawa niya, pag tag-ulan, inaasinan. Nilalagyan niya ng muscovado. Nilalagay na sa jar, dadali na nila. Sabay lulutuin. Tuwing may birthday dito at fiesta, nakita ko si mother-in-law, may katay na baboy. Akin yung belly. Nakita ko hinihiwa niya, and then nilalagay na ng asin. Hanggang tuwing fiesta, may okasyon na lang, natuto na rin sa kanya. Yung mga apo, pamangkin, yun ang nire-request. Auntie, yung inasinan mo dyan, kasi ang tawag nila, inasinan baboy. Nanay died at 93. Yung si Lolo Nael, he died at 90. Kasi mga long life sila eh. So mga more than 100 years na ganong recipe yun. Pag-process niyan, bagong katay yung karne. Then salt, 1:1 ang ratio. And itong muscovado sugar, hindi po pwede yung ibang sugar. Talagang muscovado lang. Mamassage mo hanggang pag nag-blend na siya, tusok-tusokin ng konti. So makikita mo yan, yung salt saka yung sugar, andyan ba matigas. In a few minutes, mag-liquid na siya. Ano yung liquid na yon na tumutulong na magpatunaw? Yun yung fats ng baboy. Magsasama-sama na siya. and then takpan, sealed mo siya. The best is for 7 days above. I already eaten 3 months to 4 months. Maganda, umiitim ang kulay niya, pero masarap naman siya. Ano nga lang yung karne, matigas na, may laban na. Pero pag niluto mo, malambot. 1 week, pag binuksan mo yan, makikita mo yung fermentation process. Nangangamoy parang red wine. Hindi dapat i-refrigerator. Rule number 1 yon. So pag nag-boil na, itapon mo yung pinagkuluan, lagyan ulit ng panibagong water. So ang lasa nun, may balance na. So kung kami naman, try natin pineapple, sabi ko. Ganun din. Nilugasan, pinakuluan, was yung second na water, instead of water, pineapple juice. Talagang mabango. Dito sa Pandan, we have to preserve our traditional practice. Kasi yaman to ng bayan natin, sabi ko, hindi lang sa akin. Pag nawala na yan, at hindi namin mai-transfer, wala na, kwento na lang tayo. Parang binabalik mo yung nakaraan mo. Pag gumawa ka ng ganyang lutuin. Pag ginawa mo yan, ito pala yung kasaysayan namin. Dali rin, kain ta. Back to you, Erwan.
Thanks, see you again. By the 1900s, Filipinos were already experimenting with different types of hams. A 1916 Philippine recipe book included methods for French Basque Bayonne ham, German Westphalian smoked ham, and Maine-style ham that was brined, soaked in brandy, then smoked. During the Commonwealth era, homemade ham was promoted as a cottage industry, with Los Baños food scientists developing a process suited for the tropics. Because so much money went to imported foods, the government released a handbook on making hams and bacon. By 1938, the Manila Ham Factory near Quinta Market and Philippine Ham Factory in Malate had invested in modern equipment, the former producing around 60 legs a day, the latter about 400 legs a month, matched only by the Bureau of Animal Industry in Pandacan and 2 private factories in Cebu and Lipa. So do these flavors still exist, and how are they still relevant today?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
The ham monster is chasing us! We're currently deciding which ham we should get. There's so many to choose from. Nika personally says she likes mortadella. I'm okay with the Hamon Serrano. So one fun fact, Nika, is actually we're here in a deli, and the word deli came from the word delicatessen. And honestly, I never knew how to say that properly. Delicatessen. It's a German term, and it's basically a place where you can find all different types of products. They had it in the US, immigrants brought that to the US, and now we have it in the Philippines too. So Vera is actually one of those delis where you can get everything that you need, and it's also from different parts of Europe. Like different products that you can get in Europe, you can already find it here. So ayan, we have like ham from Spain. We have some cheeses from Italy.
Ham from Italy.
Ah, yeah, diba? Iba-iba siya.
Oo.
So, masaya para you can have a taste of Europe in your own home.
Wow, grabe naman. Parang naiiyak ako.
So, right now, we're just waiting for our hamon. Ate is slicing our ham. And I'm excited to try. Have you tried hamon?
Actually, I haven't.
Okay.
Kaya I'm curious to know kung ano ba yung difference siya. Kasi ako, mahilig ako sa sweet style na
Okay,
ham.
like a Filipino-Chinese
Yeah,
ham.
Filipino Chinese ham.
Thank you, Ate.
Hi guys, welcome to my vlog.
We're so full, but we're so excited to eat again. We got the goods! Thank you, Mary. We're on our way to buy some more ham.
We have Majestic right here.
May order kami ng 100 grams each na turkey, Canadian,
And fine
and the pine.
We are back in the studio.
Sobrang lamig, kaya may ano kami.
Hindi ako naka-long sleeve.
Please.
And we have the 5 hams that we purchased.
We have the
Iberica, Majestic, Canadian, Pine Honey,
Pine Honey and
Turkey. I think it's a Filipino thing now. When you think of Christmas, you think of ham. I don't know why, but it's always associated with like the holidays, with the Christmas spirit. So Majestic is really a staple for us because we like eating it alone, but we also like eating it with bread.
With rice. Akala ko rice.
Sorry, nauna na ako sa Majestic.
Okay. From growing up, I'm really used to parang sweet style ham, not more on the salty side.
I think that's also the influence of the Filipino Chinese. Like, you know how Filipino, at least for us, like the Phil Chais, we're used to our hams that's sweet but also a bit of a savory. So you get like a good balance between the two flavors.
And first up na susubukan namin is the turkey ham.
I really like turkey ham also because I feel like it's good on its own, but it's also good if you put it in a sandwich. Okay,
Next.
pine honey.
Pine honey.
I'm not sure if I've ever tried pine honey ham, actually. This one we got from Santis.
Santis.
Yeah, Santis Delicatessen.
What? Paano?
Delicatessen. That's sweeter.
Parang siya yung pinaka-fatty out of the three.
Is it?
I think so. Even if it's pine honey, but it's not as sweet as you think.
It is, yeah.
It
But
is.
it's sweeter than the turkey one, for sure.
Yes. And you'd get that parang nutty also, parang nutty taste.
Okay.
So, next up, Canadian
Canadian.
ham.
Why is it called Canadian ham?
Ano, sinabi na ni ate, masarap. Ito din, bestseller naman sa Wasan. Okay, I
Okay.
get that.
I feel like when people think of the taste of ham, when you watch movies, cartoons,
This
this
is
is
it.
the taste that you're gonna get.
Oo nga.
Amongst the three, this one is the lightest one for me.
But I like how balanced the fat and the meat ratio is. Pero ba't ba siya Canadian? Hindi ko alam
eh. Let us know.
Oh yeah, let us know what makes it Canadian. This is from Brera, the Iberico ham.
Yeah.
So I would say, I've tried this a while ago already sa Delhi. This one is really parang, matitaste mo talaga yung parang pagka-smoky niya.
Yeah, and it's really like the cured ones that you think of. When you think of charcuterie, like this is the one that comes to mind. I think what people also need to consider is when you buy the Iberica ham, it's 100 grams, which is also the same as the other hams.
Yes.
But this one you just eat a little bit because it is saltier, I feel.
Yes.
So you just eat like a little bit at a time, and then I feel like you can really stretch it out. Versus this, you eat like chunks or like bulk,
Yeah.
like talagang madami. Pwede nga with rice.
Actually, pwede siya
Pwede mo siya
with rice.
Pwede mo siyang ulam.
The Pinoy in us.
I know, with rice!
With rice.
Yeah, but this
But
one,
this one,
it's nice with crackers, with bread,
with
with
bread.
butter, and of course with the cheese and the raisins that we have prepped in our charcuterie board. Why? They actually commercial ko to. Of all the influence we've had here in the Philippines, we have Spanish, we have Chinese, we have
American.
Canadian. Canadian.
Canadian.
We have the Canadian influence. Like, ham is so different for everybody.
Yes, we have all those influences, but na-localize na din natin. Parang may
Exactly.
mga na-add na din tayo. Like for example, in our place, since abundant yung pineapple, so parang mas sweeter na siya, some even add like brown sugar, mga things like that.
I mean, that's the beauty of food naman talaga. You can always add your own twist to it. You can adapt the influence or the culture of another country and sort of kind of make it your own.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ham was previously seen as something that is quite elitista and alta. And so how did we go from a rare luxury to what it is today? From the late 19th century, ham was already a highlight in elite and special occasion menus in the Philippines. At the Piece of Biyak na Bato celebration, catered by Restaurante Dulceria de Paris on Escolta, guests started with sandwiches of pitted ham, mortadella, and jambon, and even had York ham as one of the main dishes. Not long after, the Philippine Republic in Malolos also served cold ham at a formal lunch event. For Americans, ham was a classic special occasion food too. Mothers sent their sons in the military service Thanksgiving treats like pumpkin pie, ham, and gingerbread. And in 1905, U.S. troops stationed in the Philippines had boiled ham with mashed potatoes and roast turkey with dressing for Christmas dinner. It was only much later, around the late 1960s, that ham became more of an everyday and affordable, something you could finally find priced for student sandwiches item. Now, institutions like Kingsway further changed the game by not only making ham accessible, but convenient and affordable.
The ham itself is special. We always associate it pag Christmas. Parang dati, kailangan Pasko lang matatry yung ham. But now, even normal days, pwede mo nang matry siya. It's really about making it available and making it accessible to the people. For me personally, I want to solve a problem for the Filipino household. Parang konti lang yung time ng mga parents to prepare kasi they have also to work. So this is where our products comes in. It's easy to cook, it's fast to cook, and it's very delicious. 1930s, my lolo started the business with adobe stoves, and then she started making only the leg ham. And nilalako niya to sa Binondo. So with the cart going like that. And during the 60s, 70s, when his kids grew up na, they helped with the company and they started producing different products as well. So doon na nagsimula yung mga bacon, sausages, other kinds of hams, mga cold cuts. And yeah, 1970s, it's incorporated. So that's when, yeah, it started with different kinds of sausages, hot dogs, mga tocino, longanisa, and all of that. Yung panahon na yun, life is really hard, especially after the war. I would think that his main goal was to survive. And in order to survive, you have to make good food. So the Chinese ham bone-in, this is the most flavorful, the most expensive, the most premium that we have. It's made of ham legs. The next one is we have the piña ham. It's also a whole meat ham. It's specialty of the piña ham. It's niluluto siya with ham necks, kaya mukha siyang piña. And then they're smoked, they're cured, and they're dried. Hindi siya shortcut, so matagal ang proseso niya with the smoking, with the curing, with the drying. So the next one is the sweet ham. Whole meat ham din siya. And the next under that is the pear-shaped ham and the Hawaiian ham. Ito yung processed meat na sila. So this is for the para medyo mas affordable siya. The Hamon de Bola is also processed meat din siya. And the chicken ham pag yung ayaw ng pork. Our hams naman is available all throughout the year. Well, we're already in our 95th year, so hopefully it has been a staple, or else we won't last this long. I'm happy and excited to continue to share what we have.
So what have we learned today? Well, food is something that you cannot just put in a box. There's no such thing as truly authentic or truly original. There is no one true recipe that kind of rules all over other recipes because food is fluid. Today, the way we eat ham might change in the next 20 years. And so who are we to judge absolutely anyone when it comes to the hams that they like to have on their Christmas tables for Noche Buena? Anything from a packaged ham that you may find in a supermarket all the way to the hamon that we shot in Antique, which would make a lot of people grimace and kind of have second thoughts about, to a more traditional kind of maybe American or Spanish ham. All of them are hams, all of them can be Filipino, can be representative of our Christmas tables, and all of them should take part in kind of this encyclopedia of Filipino food. I'm going to finish this off by cooking a really cool recipe from Bulacan. So this is a book that we've printed with the okay of the owner. They're currently in reprint. And what they did was they actually categorized all the recipes in this book from Bulacan depending on the different periods of Filipino influences and colonization, which I thought was really cool because it's a great way to kind of wrap things up in terms of what we've been covering so far. And so we're going to make their hamon, which is very, very different from all the different hamons that you might find. I'm going to read this in my perfectly fluent Tagalog. We will need 1 kilong liempo ng baboy, 4 ng kutsarang na asukal, 2 kutsarang asin pino, 1 kucharitang is a teaspoon, very specific, of Prague powder. Then for the sauce, or the braising liquid, the pangpakuluan, 2 tasang katas ng pinya, 2 kutsarang asukal, 1 tasang serbesa, o 1/4, how do you say 1/4 in Tagalog? Lahat ng mga Pilipino dito, how do you say 1/4? 1 kalahati ng kalahati? What? Basta! 1/4 tasang alak. Okay, we're going to be using both cerveza and alak. We're using what they call Nipa vodka, but it's basically Sasa Nipa Palm Lambanog. Chase that down. That's better. It's okay, it's 2 p.m. Because I do think both of them do different things when you're braising. Let's get our top shot going.
The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
The reason why I'm using some lambanog, I just feel like it'll give us a more overall syrupy texture, and it'll just give us a nice edge. Beer is not as acidic as your lambanog. Pineapple juice, and then some sugar. And we're gonna go ahead and start boiling that. I think when you go through kind of Filipino recipes, there are a couple things that you need to keep in mind, and that is one, how we are laid out geographically. So what happens is a lot of the terms that we might use in different places might mean very different things. And that's what happens with language and in food in particular. So hamon was probably at one point understood to be more anything that's kind of pork and preserved and maybe sweet. And so in different provinces, they decided to give the same name to very different things. And you find that all throughout the vernacular of Filipino recipes and Filipino cooking, all throughout the archipelago. But here, there is kind of like a little thread that ties everything together, and that thread is preservation. Knowing how the country is, knowing our humidity, things like proteins tend to spoil very quickly. So by having the prog powder, by curing for 3 days in salt, or by smoking, or by preserving, all these things technically have the preservation method of ham. So very different dishes, but a very similar intent and approach and purpose. So we have our cured ham. This goes into the liquid, and this will take a few hours. You really want to cook the pork belly through, and then also reduce the liquid until it's syrupy. So the liquid here, unlike other places where the sauces are separate, used either as a basing or you're using the drippings to create the sauce, here both the sauce and the pork belly are made together. So we're just going to put this on the fire and get this really hot. Just make sure whatever you're using doesn't melt. It should be stainless steel, not aluminum. Aluminum will break. And this one in particular is actually still being made in Bulacan, but only by one particular family, the Hernandez family. So this is really hot. Jules, can you tell me if it's hot enough? Give me your finger. Just your sprinkle of sugar. Obviously ours looks decent, but the Hernandez one looks really great. We have a full documentary about it on FEATR, by the way, if you want to check it out. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Let's chop this up. Damn, that is a fatty piece of ham. So you might think that we know everything when we do these things, but honestly, we discover everything just as much as you do. Before we started this whole episode, in my mind, hamon was a Spanish thing that became commercialized by the Americans, not knowing that those are two very distinct styles of hams, and how we also have the Chinese influence, which I had no idea about. I didn't even make that connection. And then just how we indigenize food and adapt it, right? That's the story of the Filipino. We take everything that influences us and only create something that we really do enjoy. So yeah, so that's why we enjoy making these, because we learn just as much as you guys do. I mean, it's pork, it's fat, it's pineapple, it's sugar. How can that not be good?